Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astrograde Mysore, and today I am taking a topic of Saturn and when does it become impatient, or Saturn doesn't become impatient. The particular position of Saturn makes the native impatient, and there are many main characteristics of Saturn. Patience becomes impulsiveness and hyperreactive. I'm just telling you the opposites here, but the real opposite, the exact opposite of what Saturn can give. Calmness can become, put a person being perturbed, confused, anxious, in panic, getting into panic attacks. A very stable person can get confused, bored, and wants change, continuous change. So, this is called impatient Saturn. And what sort of a Saturn actually gives these positions? So, let us understand. A strong Saturn is a Saturn which is exalted in its friend's house and in its own sign or in its Mula Trikona. Don't take the Shadbala here, because the strength of the Shadbala of Saturn can also be when Saturn is retrograde or even with a Malefic. So let us not take that the Shadbala, that is the planetary strength which is numerically determined by the Parashara Hora Shastra, which has explained this particular point, does not mean the planet is positive. It is strong. But what I am talking about here is a strong positive Saturn. So if a strong positive Saturn is there in a chart, that means the Saturn is either exalted in its friendly sign, or in its sign of Mula Trikona, or in its own sign. So let us keep only these four, and the other planetary placements of Saturn is not that great, or it will be mediocre, sometimes neutral, and all. So now directly coming to the point as to which is this Saturn which starts boiling like mercury, or why is it unstable, why is it so flexible, or let us say why is it so flickering. The fact that Saturn is a slow moving planet will go through difficulties when it is associated with a fast moving planet. So let us understand. So if I'm just giving you some examples, I'll be rubbing and giving you a lot of examples here. This is a slow class because it's a Saturn's class, it's a Saturday, and let us go slow and understand the significations of a planet. A signification of the planet is very important for you to determine as to what actual problem a person is going through. So just giving example, because people when I speak, bad Saturn, they'll get confused as to that. I have to explain it. I'm explaining here. I'm just putting it in the South Indian chart, which is the Rashi Kundali. I will repeat it in the North Indian chart there. So if I take a Saturn which is sitting in its enemy sign, for Saturn, Moon's sign is not good. Though Moon does not regard Saturn as an enemy. One more placement of Saturn. This is not good. But does this make Saturn impatient? To a certain extent. But is it so cruel and rude that it will hamper the progress, or halt or become an obstacle to the development of a native? No, it doesn't, because the lordship, depending on the ascendant, the lordship of Saturn and the placement of Saturn, that is a position, is very important. The conjunction and the aspect come later. What if I put a planet along with it? So now I am putting its friend planet Mercury, which is retrograde. Now, we all know Mercury is a fast moving planet. The fast moving planets are the fast moving planets, FMP. We call it as FMP. I'll be teaching these words and SMP and FMP in more detail when we will be doing some Tajaka for Nilakanta Jyotish book. I'll put some yoga so that it will be easy for us to understand how to understand Tajak. Tajak I'll come later. So fast moving planet. The fastest is Moon. Then we have Venus, Mercury, Mars or Sun, these are all, in the same level. So these are all fast moving planets. The slow moving planets are Rahu, Ketu, and then comes Jupiter, first comes Saturn. So these are the slow moving planets because this takes 2.5 years, this takes 1.5 years, and this Jupiter takes 1 year approx. These are all approximations because of the Rasvarashis and Dirgharashis, and also sometimes the retrogression and the speed because of the distance from in the orbit, all these changes. So a fast moving planet, Mercury, usually it has to be normally fast. Now it has become retrograde. Maybe it is retrograde and still, that is in the dead speed, like that stopped there, so like that, or it is retrograde and fast, so and it is going towards Saturn, or it is going away from Saturn. These are all very important. If this is happening, then Saturn is set to become unstable. I'll put another example here. Sun is in its own sign, fantastic, in Leo. Moon and Saturn give problems. Like if I take, in North Indian charts, the problem is that here the Rashis are fixed. I need to write the Rashi. So if I take, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, then I have written here Saturn and Mercury retro as I have written in the South Indian chart. And if this is 5, that is Leo, then I have given another example of Saturn, Sun and Moon, all conjunct. Saturn is not at all happy. He is not comfortable. This is what I would want to say. He is not comfortable. I am not going for a retro Saturn here at all. Retro Saturn is something like, an eccentric Saturn. It gives a person the ability to think out of the box. That's a great thing. But what if a retro Saturn is sitting along with Moon? He only keeps thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. Okay, so retro Saturn, wherever it is posited, we have to be a little cautious while we are predicting. So I'll keep giving you some more examples of what actually Saturn is when it becomes impatient. So simple theory or simple formulae for this is to see if Saturn is sitting along with fast moving planets, it is not in its friend sign, and if it is debilitated, or it is combust, or it is retrograde and it is weak, or even strong, but Saturn becomes very unstable. Okay, there is some exception here that if Saturn is sitting in a better position, let us say it's in a friend sign, and along with Venus, which is not retrograde, then Saturn Venus combination is regarded as a Raja Yoga. These are all very minor exceptions. We'll come to that later when we are doing Raj Yogas of Saturn and Venus and all those things. I have done combination of planets. I think I have finished Saturn and Venus. It has come as Venus plus Saturn because Venus comes first. So you can go through that video. It's a detailed video of conjunction of planets. So let us now go through the details. I have written down a lot here, but let me slowly read through this and then explain in between. Saturn is usually a slow or a steady planet, and for a person who has a fast moving planet in the ascendant, or if the ascendant lord itself is a fast moving planet, then this dragging, stagnant, slow moving, easygoing, carefree Saturn becomes a pain. Because it is associated with a fast moving planet, you feel that Saturn is dragging, pulling you behind. It is not allowing you to open up your wings and fly. It is not allowing you to progress in life. So you will feel that you are stuck somewhere, stagnancy. So he will experience frustration, anger, the dissatisfaction of not able to meet expectations, as he feels that he can do, because there is an inherent feeling inside a human being that the person can do wonderfully well, and he feels that I can achieve these things in life. And when it doesn't happen, you feel, what's happening, who is stopping me? So that's the particular situation. Saturn is for patience and perseverance, but all of this is through experience. So, what does a fast moving planet do? Before even you know the solution, only because of, okay, you know a little bit, you will feel that I know everything. That is a fast moving planet. If a fast moving planet is not associated with a slow moving planet like Saturn, then really you will know it. You will know it very fast. Like Mercury, grasping power is super fast. Listen once and they are done. They know the subject. But because fast moving planet is now associated with a slow moving planet, so the fast moving planet also doesn't have that speed to take everything inside, because Saturn is stopping it there. So they both collaborate with each other in a negative way, and that's when the problem starts. So a native who wants to climb the height of life, that is his heights of achievement, would not want to climb the steps, because Saturn comes down hard on him, and that will give him fear. That is, I have slipped 2 times. The third time also I will slip. So he will start getting, apprehensive of his own decision making, becomes indecisive, and starts, keeps waiting and waiting, and then only he will start trying to put his right step forward, and that will be late. So that means it will delay the progress. This start and stop, intermittent obstacles or distraction is seen with this type of a Saturn. They are dreamers. If I just remove this, these guys are melancholic dreamers. Sun is not a dreamer, he is an achiever. These fellows both were dreamers. These are guys who sit all the night long thinking and dreaming. So they are dreamers, and then when it comes to perform, they lack consistency. So they easily get bored and get deviated from the initial goal. That is what I have told. This is very important with an impatient Saturn. What is Saturn? Perseverance. They don't get bored. Day in, day out, they are like, "No, I know I will be achieving this thing in 2035. Okay, now it is 2026, 9 more years. So they don't get bored in between 2029. They'll feel, no, 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 it's not happening. My PhD will not happen. I will leave this PhD here itself. I'll do something else. So they turn their back to their goals, which they had dreamt for years together, and they had started it. After 2 or 3 years, they have left it there. So what actually is happening? You are back to square one. When we were young, and we had these INSAT 1A, 1B, INSAT 1B and 2B. So these were all satellites which were launched from India. I am talking from India, being an Indian. I am proud of the space program which they did. But still, there one satellite fell, and it was a live relay, and I saw that happening. And after that, we were all very sad, and that day news came, and it told, the news was very clear. They told that India has now gone back around 5 years in their development, because these telecommunication satellites which had to be launched, if they would have got launched on the correct date and time, our progress in telecommunication and many other informatic science would have increased leaps and bounds. But anyway, they did a great thing. They thought that they will again launch a satellite in another 10 years, but they did it very fast. So this is how it happens. They will get bored, and they will leave their goal not even halfway, one third or one fourth of the distance they will go, and they leave it again, retract into a depressive mode, That is another problem. Saturn does not give depression if it is positive. They are very content. Content people will never go into depression. People who are anxiety prone, anxious, and people who go into panic, these are the people who go into depression because of obsessive compulsive thinking. So, physical work or comfort is hit because of a low back problem or a slip disc kind of a thing in this particular Saturn. So, this is a physical obstacle. So there are many obstacles, but this is a physical obstacle. So this can be sudden and the native will be taken aback. That is, everything was going fine, everything was normal, and suddenly a person, I just met a person a year, year ago. So we had to meet in the evening. Everything was fine in the morning. When I called him, he told, okay, come over. We'll meet in the evening. When I went in the evening, he was sitting with a big cast over his leg. And he told that now I had a small hairline fracture. What happened? So 1 month they have asked me to take bed rest, not going anywhere outside. So until the cast is removed or at least for 1 month. So this is called physical obstacle or hurdle, which happens when there is a Saturn which is badly posited and it is with a fast moving planet like Mars in the 8th house or the 6th house or the 12th house. These are the triksthanas, which is 6th house is for Roga, that is discomfort of the physical self. 8th house is for Deha Kasta, giving some problems like fractures or accidents, and the 12th house is for hospitalization and frequent visits. So let's come out of this particular point of physical problems to another problem. These natives cannot take debates, arguments, and they show their resentment and displeasure. That is, there are some fixed ideologies, and these fixed ideologies are based on some traumatic experiences, and these ideologies, if you are trying to change them, they will change you. That is, they will leave you. These people are very stubborn with their ideologies because it has gone deep into their psychological mindset. Maybe they have gone through certain lifestyle, when they were brought up in their life. So Saturn is like, it is like a sponge. It keeps observing and absorbing and experiencing and makes it a huge a repository of experience. It's not like Jupiter is wisdom. Saturn is experience, the real on hand experience. And these small traumas like parents are fighting, or there has been one after the other difficulties at home, financial difficulties, these children who have grown up in that particular thing will have recorded all that inside very deep. So these are also very important to understand. So a normal Saturn is an excellent judge, and he is very good to in understanding situations. Here, this Saturn is just a reverse of it. Normally people will, all of them are not good analyzers of situations. Saturn is a very good analyzer. He'll be silent, observant, and then he'll be telling you what actually has happened. So he is a very good reporter. But with the negative Saturn, who is impatient, the person will have carried a wrong message and he would have delivered it there. So if he is a reporter, he will report something wrong. So he needs to wait and listen to the whole story. He will jump into conclusions, which is once again a very tough position for married life. So the once again I'm trying to tell you the factors which make a Saturn impatient. Saturn with the fast moving planet or posited in the Chara Rashi in a bad position due to bad avastha like being debilitated, retrograde, and with a functional malefic to the chart, and if it is the functional malefic is also a fast moving planet, then Saturn becomes impatient. And other than that, I have given you some more detailed points. So, lastly, they go through anxiety attacks and problems of depression, which I already told earlier. Placements with Mercury, which is weak and retrograde, can give fear and psychological problems. I think I have explained that particular point itself. I'm just putting it there. You can put it anywhere because Mercury, when it becomes retro, let us say, oh, Saturn with a debilitated retrograde Mercury, Neecha Vakra Buddha, it acts as though it is an eccentric, exalted planet, and that's with Saturn. So, that is a difficult thing which will give psychological difficulties. So, let us go to the remedial measures. Very important point. This is point to point. There are around 6 to 7 remedial measures. I will detail it here. Work, physically work on the field, whichever field of work is yours, work, garden, or with earth. The more you involve yourself with earth, Saturn is happy. It will reduce the negative effects of that anxiety and depression. So, help feed destitutes good fruits and try to donate warm clothing. So this is a fantastic thing. I have done, charity for Saturn, but anyway, I am just giving it here once again. Avoid liquor consumption or any intoxicating substances because it is dangerous for you. Eat small portions at a time and keep yourself active. So don't eat much and become lethargic and sleepy. So never eat after sunset because Saturn gets active at sunset and after that. So do not unnecessarily help Saturn and give that energy to it. Eat before sunset, and I think that is more than enough because you will be sleeping early. So walking is the best remedy because it involves legs. So walk normally, not brisk walking, because Saturn once again doesn't like brisk walking. It will give you difficulties of your ankle joints and your knee joints when already Saturn is negative in the chart. This is for those people. Don't do unnecessary weight training. Don't go to unnecessary, weightlifting gyms and dead weights. You might be young, but the repercussions will come in its Saturn's age. Saturn's age is after 50 and 55. Saturn will start, showing its colors. Speak less, and you will not unnecessarily get involved in arguments or fights. So this is how you can, give remedies to this particular problem of Saturn. So let me put two more examples before I close this particular talk. So when I take Saturn in Rashi Gandantara, this is a very important point actually. So Gandantara comes when Saturn is in between Mesha and Meena, that is in between Pisces and Aries. So Rashi Ganda, so I'll be easily showing here. I cannot show it in the because I cannot show the degrees there. Here it is from 0 to 30. This is 0 degree and this is 30 degrees for Meena Rashi. I cannot do it there. Where will I write? So what when Saturn is posited here? That is the last 3 degree 20-minute piece. That is the Navamsha of Pisces and the first Navamsha of Aries. We call it as Rashi Ganda. The same thing is here in between Karkataka Rashi and Simha Rashi. This is the last 3 degree 20 minutes and last 3 degree 20 minutes. The same one is here between Sagittarius and Scorpio, or Scorpio and Sagittarius when you are taking it in a cyclic order. So this is one of the three positions of Saturn which makes it horribly impatient. Next, when it is associated with Ketu particularly, and Saturn itself is retrograde. So let us say I'll take a Nicha Vakra Shani along with Ketu. This is a very bad combination for Saturn because it makes it very impatient. I have seen impatient people who have done their doctorates, but they don't have a good personal life because it is the seventh house for them. I have seen this. Why? Fifth Lord, retrograde, very strong. It has made him a doctorate. Yes, he is a scientist. But what has happened? Because Ketu also loves research. But seventh house, very bad personal life because of OCDs. Where he is isolated kind of a character, not a social person. So going through tough married life because wife wants society, wants family, and this guy is like, I am what I am, you know. So this is how the impatient Saturn actually is to be analyzed and seen in a horoscope. Thank you very much for today's class.